The movie begins at an unknown place in Costa Rica. A group of scientists led by Dr. Michael Morbius arrive at a cave. Morbius steps forward to the cave's entrance and cuts his hand, then holds it out as a swarm of bats starts flying out, drawn to his blood. The rest of the men retreat back to their helicopter. Next, the movie takes us 25 years back in Greece, where we see a young Michael living under the care of Dr. Emil Nicholas, as Michael suffers from a blood disease. The institution they are living in welcomes another child with the same disease, Lucian, but Michael calls him Milo due to the last kid who was there being named that. After some chatting, Milo's machine becomes faulty, which makes him pass out. Smart Michael uses a spring from a ballpoint pen to fix the machine, which revives Milo. Nicholas expresses his astonishment at Michael's intelligence. Nicholas offers Michael an opportunity to study at a school for gifted children like him because he didn't want his gift to be a waste, even though he is disabled. Later, Milo is harassed by other kids who taunt him for his condition and kick him while he is down. 25 years later, presently, Morbius publicly declines a Nobel Prize for his work with synthetic blood, but goes on to continue his work. At work, he is treating a young girl, Anna, who suffers from the same condition as him. Morbius works with his girlfriend, Dr. Martine Bancroft, who thinks he is putting too much effort into his endeavors, more than he should. Dr. Michael Morbius wants to somehow transfuse the blood of vampire bats into his DNA and create an artificial blood type, which he called the Blue. He knows that this might be their last shot, though he is still unaware of the possibilities and the dreadful consequences that it might lead to. It is also said that Milo is the funder of this project, as this is what Morbius thinks will cure their disease. He has recovered the bats from the cave for this project. He tests his serum on a lab rat, but it appears to die. Moments later, Anna starts to have a kind of seizure, but Morbius is able to take care of her before she suffers a stroke. Martine looks back at the lab and sees that the rat is back alive and moving about freely, meaning that Morbius's serum is a success. Morbius goes to meet with Milo and Nicholas to get more funding to continue his experiments on a ship on international waters, cause the project was illegal. Milo has been living under Nicholas's care since childhood. Morbius and Milo have become like brothers. But Morbius makes it seem urgent that Milo helps him as soon as possible before it's too late for both of them. Morbius gathers Martine and other crew members onto a ship for the next stage of his experiment, where Martine will administer the serum to him. After the procedure, Martine is bothered by an arrogant crew member. She notices that Morbius has broken free from the straps on his chair. They find him crawling on the ceiling, and Morbius attacks the man. The crew pushes Martine, and accidentally, she hits her head somewhere and falls unconscious. Other mercenaries show up, and Morbius, now having turned into a pseudo-vampire, attacks all of them and also sucks their blood. When Morbius regains himself, he watches himself attacking the men on security cameras. FBI agents Simon Stroud and AI Rodriguez are brought on to investigate the crime scene. Martine is found alive, but Morbius has fled after calling in the Mayday service. Milo and Nicholas also catch wind of the incident that occurred on the ship. Okay, before I continue, hope you're enjoying this story? If you are, and you haven't subscribed to this channel, please kindly click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can get notified when we post a new video. Thanks for doing that. Now let's continue with our interesting story. Morbius isolates himself in his lab, and in the process tries to understand his new condition while feeding himself with blood samples to satisfy his hunger for blood. He begins to master his new superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, and echolocation, with his vampire bats treating him as a bat. He is later found by Milo just as he begins to relapse into his monstrous state, but Milo helps him get under control. Realizing that the serum has helped cure Morbius's disease, Milo wants to get some, but Morbius refuses because he knows the consequences would be dangerous. While checking on Martine, who was hospitalized, Morbius finds a dead nurse whose blood has been drained. Believing he was responsible, he attempts to escape before being cornered and arrested. Stroud and Rodriguez question Morbius in his cell before he is then visited by Milo. When Milo leaves the cell but leaves his walking cane behind, Morbius realizes that Milo took the serum for himself, and also he's the one who killed the nurse. Morbius changes into a vampire and breaks out of the cell, then watches as Milo becomes a vampire and kills a man at a newsstand. After being found, an unrepentant Milo confesses to his bloodlust-induced crime and urges Morbius to embrace his powers as he has. He chases Milo into the subway, where they both fly and crash in front of others. Police show up to arrest Milo, but he slaughters them all. Milo attempts to fight Morbius, but Morbius isn't willing to fight back. He then escapes through the tunnels. After Martine is released from the hospital, Morbius finds her in a bus and explains his condition to her and how he has to keep it under control before he gets overpowered by his lust for blood like Milo. He later finds another lab run by counterfeiters and scares them away in order to continue working and develop a compound to change himself back to normal, even though he knows it will kill him. Milo goes out to a nightclub where he has a problem with an aggressive guy. He later follows the guy and his friends down an alley where he slaughters them all. He later observes Morbius working with Martine and watches them kiss, knowing he has found a weakness in his brother. After the investigators, Stroud and Rodriguez, find the dead clubgoers, they see surveillance footage which shows the face of Milo. This makes them realize that Morbius is not the killer they are looking for. After seeing this on the news, Nicholas goes to visit Milo and speak to him, but Milo argues that Nicholas always saw Morbius as the favorite son. He attacks Nicholas and leaves him gravely wounded. Morbius meets with Martine one more time, but is alerted to what happened with Nicholas. He goes to be by his side just as he dies. Milo,
who holds Martine hostage, calls out for
Michael. Morbius reaches her, but she is also seriously injured by Milo. She lets him take her blood in order to make him more powerful to go after Milo, but a small drop of his own blood falls into Martine's mouth. Morbius becomes more powerful on his way to have a fight with Milo. He summons his bats and uses them to surround Milo, giving him a chance to approach his brother and inject him with the compound he created in the lab. Milo starts to die but remembers that Morbius gave him his name. Morbius stays by his brother's side as he dies. Morbius flies off into the night while Martine appears to reawaken as a vampire. During the credits, we see the multiversal rift from Spider-Man No Way Home open up, and Adrian Toomes ends up in this universe. After he is free on the streets, he finds his vulture suit and locates Morbius. He tells him that Spider-Man is involved in whatever is happening, and they would make a great team with him to go after Spidey. The end. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. See you next time.